This is the Clark County School District Honor Band literature for middle school students, for the middle school honor bands. Scales, the etudes for tuba. Specifically, I'm just start out by saying that you need to treat your scales like you would any other piece. Treat your scales just like you would your audition literature. Take it one at a time. Practice it with a metronome. You know, if you can play a B-flat scale, good for you. Does it sound like this? Right? Maybe there's some room for improvement there. Please forgive the bad audio quality. I have misplaced my Tascam IM2 that I normally do my iPhone videos with. So this is just the normal iPhone mic that you're hearing this through. Is there any part of this scale sheet that you have problems with? If so, practice it just like anything else. Get a metronome out. I would even polish up your B-flat scale, even if you're in the 8th grade and you've been playing it forever. You know, bust it out. Break out a metronome. Play it at half speed. Use the metronome. Click it up slowly. Make sure that your product is good every time you go for a speed increase. Diving right in, memorize the fingering patterns to where you don't need the music. Memorize your scales. Memorize your scales. If you see a key signature, you should not be reading notes anymore unless you see an accidental. You should be reading patterns of a scale pattern that you have memorized. Can't stress that enough. That's going to help you on sight reading, which is also part of your audition. I normally play on my equipment for these videos, but I figured I'd play on one of these 5Js with a King 18 mouthpiece. This is equipment that you will find in your band room. You're probably playing on it right now. Normally an equipment snob, but the only snobbish thing I would say is if you're playing on a 24AW, try and get an 18. There's probably one in your band room. I don't care who makes it, get an 18. If it's available. If it's not available, well, it is what it is. Number 71, the technical etude. The thing that makes this etude hard, or I should say difficult when you're preparing it, the difficulty comes from the lack of breathing opportunities. At tempo, sorry. Now, if you'll notice, I was breathing in between the dotted 8th and the 16th in a lot of instances in there. I was breathing little snatch breaths through my nose, little sniffs, like that. The way to get used to doing that is take this thing extremely slow. The 8th note equals 60 is a great place to start. For instance, that's going to do as you speed it up with the metronome, again, it needs to sound good before you even touch the metronome. Get it at 60 equals the 8th note. But you'll notice that you get opportunities to breathe at that speed, and as you speed it up, your breathing opportunities will get faster, but you'll become more accustomed to breathing in those places without terrorizing the musical line. Ultimately, you want to be able to take your breaths without the music suffering. Unfortunately, on tuba, we require air to produce a good sound. If you're playing and you're making all these phrases, you're probably closing up your mouth. You're not getting the best sound you could possibly get. So open things up, throw some air through the horn, realize you're going to have to breathe more often, especially if you're young. You have less vital capacity. You have less air that you can store inside of your body to produce great sounds on this horn. Okay, that's why the trumpet players sound instantly like trumpet players. They don't require a lot of air. Tuba players, if you push more air, you'll start sounding like a tuba player. It just requires a lot of air. And you have to breathe more, which means you have to learn how to breathe inside of these dotted 16th figures. Okay? 93. 93 gets its difficulty level from the requirement of you singing through your horn. Notice there is a C flat. C flat. So every C you see here, unless otherwise marked, is going to be flatted. Towards the bottom, you've got a C natural, and then right after it, you've got a C that is not natural, which means that last C that you see towards the last 4 bars of this piece is a C flat. Mind the key signature, mind the accidentals, and remember the accidentals, what happens inside of the bar stays in the bar. So after that bar line, that note is now flatted again. Okay? Now this thing says 88 equals the 8th note. If you're not able to get a convincing singing line on this, speed it up a little bit. Right, so I took that significantly faster than what it's supposed to do. Why? So I can figure out how I want to phrase the music. So if I'm singing this, right, so when I'm singing this thing, I can know how am I going to treat the musical line. If I speed it up, I can figure that out and then slow it back down. Keeping in mind what my musical interpretation was when it was faster and required less air to play good sounds, right? A lot easier to pull off than just something to think about when you're preparing this. I hope this is helpful for you. Make sure you tune your horn with the tuner. Make sure all your valve slides are pushed and pulled the way they need to be before you start, so you're not fighting your horn the entire time. I've noticed on these horns, the 3rd valve slide needs to be almost all the way pushed in. I do not recommend pushing any of these valve slides all the way in, because if they become frozen, it will be very hard for an instrument repairman or your band director to unfreeze them because they have no way to push it in to get that unfreezing process started. Also, take these out, coat them with Vaseline or some other kind of grease. I recommend that you clean this with Brasso and then put petroleum jelly on it. It'll prevent oxidization, it'll prevent your valve slides from moving. From getting stuck permanently. Okay, and it's dissolvable by any petroleum distillate, also known as valve oil, which means it won't gum up your valves like a lot of these quart greases will. Okay, your third valve slide down here and up here should probably be pushed in almost all the way. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very flat. Your fourth valve slide is not these ones. It looks like it is, but it's actually this one right down here. This is your fourth valve slide. Notice how all these are clean and lubricated with grease, with petroleum jelly. Take care of the horn, it'll take care of you. Lubricate your valves, lubricate your slides. You won't have a valve freeze on you on audition day, or concert day, or during band class, or while you're practicing. These little things will mean the difference between producing great music and potentially winning an audition, or producing, okay music that's still good, but not as good as it should be or could be. And that's all I have to say about that. Good luck. Play great music. Talk to you later.